Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Kids Korner. Now, normally at Kids Korner we review a film, be it a new one or a bit of an oldie that's a classic from my particular time. And I normally have two co-hosts. On my right I normally have Megan Ramey.
Hello.
I haven't introduced you yet, chill out. And on my left I normally have Jessica Rose. Well, as you already know, thanks to her big gob, we already have Megan here on my right.
Hello.
Hello. But there's no Jessica this time because the film that we are going to have a look at is not a film that she was particularly interested in seeing, but Megan really wanted to watch it.
Because she really wanted to go on her tablet instead of watching the movie, and she particularly heard us say we're doing a podcast about this movie, and I will not be a big mouth and tell you what movie.
Okay, thank you, Megan. The movie in question is 1986's Howard the Duck.
Across the sea of stars lies another world, a world almost exactly like ours. This is where he lives. He's 27 years old, single but searching. Favorite sports, windsurfing and aikido. Favorite pastimes, cigars and sex. He has everything except fulfillment. And then one night, it happens.
Hey, good buddy, are you home?
He has a very sudden midlife crisis. He lands in Cleveland.
You know why you were sent to me?
Listen to me, small visitor. I can explain how you got here.
Maybe you're here for some greater purpose, some cosmic cause.
Here, he's forced to reassess his career goals.
You went to med school?
To explore new relationships. To redefine his self-image.
I'm sorry, we don't allow pets on the premises.
To adjust to a changing lifestyle.
Pull it out!
Until he discovers just who he really is.
Oh,
A duck in big trouble.
That's a duck, man.
Howard the Duck, trapped in a world he never made. Coming from George Lucas, a Willard Hike film, a Gloria Katz production.
Now, this came out in 1986, as I said, so I was only 10 when this film came out.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're 7. Now, Mummy didn't want you to watch this film, did she? Because she remembered certain things about it being rude, and she also remembered, and we'll get to the big baddie later, so don't talk about it now, but she remembered the big baddie at the end of this film, the Dark Overlord, being scary and giving her nightmares, right? Now, you can tell us in a bit whether it scared you or not. So, how does Howard the Duck start?
It basically, he's in like this, his home,
Called Duck World.
who's Duck World. He gets into his house, he reads, he like basically puts the radio on, he puts the TV, then in his room there's an earthquake or something, and then he shoots up, no he shoots into people's houses.
So he's in his armchair, isn't he? And this beam comes from our planet.
Yeah.
What's our planet called?
Earth.
Earth. And it sucks him and his armchair into space, doesn't it? And then his armchair burns up in space, and he ends up on Earth.
Yeah.
So what happens to him once he lands on Earth?
He basically lands on a different chair, and then that's the bully's chair, and then he went into the pub.
Well, what happens to him outside with the gangsters first?
The bullies just throw him somewhere or something, or they grab him and they put him in the pub.
Or it's not a pub, it's a club, isn't it?
The club.
They take him into the club, and what does the bouncer at the club do?
They basically like bully the girls.
Well, no, they throw him out, don't they,
Yeah.
of the club to start with, if you
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
But inside the club, we see that there is a band playing,
Yeah.
and the lead singer is Beverly.
I will not be Big Mouth, sorry.
Right, don't jump ahead. Now, Beverly, did you recognise Beverly, the actress who played Beverly?
No.
No. Do you remember Back to the Future?
Yes.
You know where Marty McFly goes back to the past and his mum falls in love with him?
Yeah.
The same woman plays Marty McFly's mum as plays Beverly. It's an actress called Leah Thompson.
Whoa.
Okay, so she plays Beverly. She's in a rock band. Howard gets thrown out the club. He then hides inside what?
A dustbin.
A barrel.
A barrel.
Okay, so he hides inside a barrel, and then what happens to Beverly?
And then these two bullies, again, they come up and say, "We're big fans, can you write on our shirts?" And then the other bully says, "Can you write on my shorts?" And then she's like, "No, let go of me!" So then, how the duck had enough of it, he got out of the dustbin.
Barrel,
sorry. And then he had duck karate.
duck foo.
Duck foo. He kicked their butts. And they were like, "It's ducks kicking our butts." And I said, "How can a duck kick boys' butts?"
Because he's a martial artist, he knows quack foo. So anyway, he beats them up, right? And then Beverly says thank you, and she's going to go home, but she realises that Howard has nowhere to go, right? So she decides to let Howard go and stay at her place. Yeah. Then the next day, where does she take him?
He takes him to a doctor, a scientist.
Yep, to see her friend Phil,
Yeah.
who's a scientist, and she hopes that Phil can help explain just what Howard is and where he's come from. So, whilst Phil is investigating, and Phil is played, of course, by Tim Robbins, who you won't know, but he's a very famous actor now. This was one of his very first roles. He is working alongside the likes of, what's the actor's name? Jeffrey Jones.
Okay.
He's working alongside Jeffrey Jones. He's the Dr. Walter who becomes the villain, right, at the end. He's like the older guy with a moustache.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I'm an old guy.
So whilst Phil is investigating, trying to figure out where Howard's come from, what is Howard and Beverly doing?
They are... What do you think?
You tell me, I'm asking you.
They were kissing!
Well, it's not just their kissing. So she goes to play
in the same bed.
She goes to play in the club, doesn't
Yeah.
she? And what does Howard do while she's playing?
He beats her bosses up.
Yeah.
And he took the money for the man, gave it to Beverly.
Yeah, and the rest of the band. And then Beverly says you can still stay at mine. And then they have this sort of talk where they're talking about, love and all the rest of it. And then Beverly sort of teases him, doesn't she? She doesn't really love him, but she gives him a kiss and he gets all freaked out, doesn't he?
Yeah, because his hair goes...
His hair pops up, yeah.
And he's like, "Oh my goodness, that's my nervous hair."
Yeah. Then the doctors turn up, right? And
they see them in like the sheep. They're the
silhouette.
There. Yeah. They're like, oh.
So at this point, because I watched this film when I was a kid, but I had to go out for a while then. So you continue to watch it. So what happens next?
Then the scientists talk to Howard, tell him what's going to happen. But then they go in the studio or something, and then everything's blown up and stuff. That's when Howard's like, "When can I go home?" Because he's got all of his clothes. But then a scientist says, "You know that old guy turns into that?"
Yeah, what Dr. Walter, yeah.
He disappeared.
Right.
And then they found him. And then he said, "I think something's just gone into me and stuff." Because a Dark Overlord took his body.
So where did the Dark Overlord come from?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? You watched the film?
You watched it a long time ago.
Okay, so it's this Dark Overlord.
Yeah.
And what does the Dark Overlord want to do?
He wants to rule the world with all of his friends.
So he wants to set the beam off again and open it up so that lots more Dark Overlords can come through, right? And this Dark Overlord has taken over Jeffrey Jones's body and turned him into like this evil creature.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as he gets more and more evil, he becomes more and more disfigured and ugly, doesn't he?
Yeah. Because they took him to like this place. He said, I don't know, then people took the thing, how he's gonna get his friends. Then they were bullying Howard the Duck. And then Beverly told the Dark Overlord that they're laughing at him, and they took his key thing. That when he got really angry, and he nearly killed all of them.
And then he kidnaps Beverly, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he's driving along, and what does he do when they're in the lorry?
He gets his long tongue out. She's like, ew! And he takes out his thing out. Then he electrocutes him.
And what does he do to all the cars that are in front of him?
He bashes into them.
And then he blows them up with his nuclear laser vision power type
but
thing.
no one was in them.
No. While this is happening, Howard and Phil are running away from the police, aren't they?
In an aeroplane.
Well, it's not an aeroplane as such, is it? It's like a two-seater sort of mobile flying hang glider thing. Right. So they escape and they go to where the Dark Overlord inside Jeffrey Jones's body is with Beverly's body. Now he's got her tied up. He's opening the portal. So then there's the big battle, right? And Howard manages to zap Jeffrey Jones, doesn't he, Dr. Walter? And then what happens?
Then the Dark Overlord comes out, but it hasn't disappeared yet.
No, it's a giant sort of slug type thing, isn't it, with giant
crab arms.
So, as we said at the beginning of this, Mummy didn't want you to watch this film because she thought you'd be scared of the Dark Overlord. What did you think of the Dark Overlord?
It was bad graphics.
Now you have to remember, this film is 30 years old, right?
I don't care, it's bad graphics.
And that was made with stop motion animation. So what they did was they had a model of the Dark Overlord, and then they would move it one tiny little bit, take a shot of it, move it again, one tiny little bit, take a shot of it. A bit like, do you remember Morph?
What's Morph?
Or Wallace and Gromit?
I don't remember them.
You must remember Wallace and Gromit. You know, the dog and the man, and they like cheese, and then there's the sheep, and the evil dog, and you have no idea what I'm talking about. How can you be 7 years old? Anyway, so it's stop motion animation. There's more Dark Overlords come in, and what happens in the end?
Then he blows up the thing, then the Dark Overlord. But then they also destroy the Dark Overlord.
Okay, and what happens at the end of the film? What is everybody doing?
Well, then Beverly actually gets she's not in the club anymore. She's in like these concerts.
Yeah.
And it's really good. So.
And who's her new manager?
Who do you think?
You tell me.
Howard.
And why hasn't Howard gone home?
Because he blowed up the thing and he said, "Bye bye, Duckland."
Duck World.
Duck World.
So he's stuck on Earth now, isn't he?
Yeah.
And Tim
he
Robbins.
wanted to, so.
Yeah, Tim Robbins' character is there as well, and Howard gets on stage and plays the guitar with them. And that's the end of the film. We don't really see what happens to Dr. Walter Jeffrey Jones, but you know that doesn't really matter. Now, did you know that this film was directed by the same man that made the Star Wars, the original Star Wars? And he directed.
Star Wars better than Howard the Duck.
Well, he directed Howard the Duck, and it was, or rather, it wasn't directed by George Lucas, the man who brought us Star Wars, but he was the driving force behind it. And because of that, he decided not to make any more movies until the prequel movies, which had Anakin Skywalker and Jar Jar Binks. Do you like Jar Jar Binks?
I love him. Who's Jar Jar Binks?
Me's gonna get you, Annie. You know, the little
thing with two eyes like that.
And the afro hair and the big lips, and he's like the fish creature. Yeah, that one. You like Jar Jar Binks?
Yeah, do you?
Not really, no. But then I'm not a Star Wars fan, but you do like Star Wars, don't you?
I've watched all of Star Wars.
Anyway, back to Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
What did you think? What would you give Howard the Duck out of 10?
10.
You liked it that much?
Yeah. Or even Infinity out of 10.
You can't give it Infinity out of 10. It has to be a score out of 10.
Infinity.
Right. So, your two favourite... Is this one of your favourite films now, then?
Yes, it's in the middle.
Okay, in the
so
middle.
it's in the middle of my favourite.
Okay, so maybe you shouldn't give it 10 then, because 10 says that it can't get any better than that. So maybe you should drop your score down a little bit. You're giving it. You can't just give everything 10.
Okay.
Okay, so if this is 10 out of 10, what's your favourite film?
Out of the favourite.
No, what's your favourite all-time film?
What do you think?
Tell me.
Okay. Garbage Pail Kids!
Garbage Pail Kids. So if Howard the Duck is 10 out of 10, how much is Garbage Pail Kids?
It's not going to be out of 10, it's going to be out of 90.
Okay.
90 out of 90.
90 out of 90. So two of your favourite films are actually ones from the 80s when I was a kid. Garbage Pail Kids and Howard the Duck.
But next film, I'm going to promise you, I'm watching Garbage Pail Kids.
Right. Now, did you know that Howard the Duck is actually a comic book as well? That was where he originally started.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I've got a comic book of Howard the Duck downstairs actually, so you can have a look at that later.
Thank you.
And that is a very brief Kids Corner review of Howard the Duck. Megan liked it.
I loved it!
But then, as your mum said, you are quite weird.
She said something behind my back.
She says it to your face all the time, Megan.
Well, she's weird.
And we will be back next time. Maybe Jess will be with us if she sees fit to grace us with her presence. So for now, I'll say goodbye. Megan, say goodbye.
Goodbye, and that was the shortest Kids Corner that we've ever had.
And we will be back next time.
Da, 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 da.